to heroin, like heroin
Became
became
your
my
life.
everything, bro.
For how many years were you in this living that type of life?
32,
32 years.
a brick of dope, 50 bags. And 50 bags doesn't last me 2 days, bro. This is how bad my addiction got.
That's a
So
lot.
if you got somebody that's going through drug addiction, man, you gotta show them love, man. Show them, that you care, man, and that there's a better way.
Dios les bendiga, mi gente. Bienvenidos a otro episodio de su podcast, el testimonio favorito, Dios lo hizo. Gracias a Dios, ¿verdad? Por su amor, por su misericordia, por su bondad. Gracias a ustedes que se dejan sentir. Gracias a ustedes que nos respaldan. Gracias a ustedes, ¿verdad? Que siempre mandan su mensajito, que lo comparten, que están suscritos. Pero si usted no se ha suscrito, suscríbase, déle a la campanita, deje un like, active la campanita de las notificaciones para que todos los viernes le llegue el anuncio, la notificación de que un nuevo episodio ha subido. Y hoy tenemos otro invitado especial. Nuestro invitado especial es Julio Rivera. Dios te bendiga, Julio. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm blessed, man. God is good. But I'm born in Jersey City, raised in Hoboken. And my upcoming was, pretty normal. At a young age, I experienced things, during my childhood that I still ask questions about. Pero que my parents, I came from two, I want to say good parents. They didn't drink, they didn't smoke. They tried to do everything they could do for us. You know what I'm saying? My father provided. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. I got 3 brothers, 3 sisters. Always felt like the black sheep of the house, always taking the hits for everybody. But yeah, I had a pretty normal childhood up until my mother started letting us roam the streets a little. And I grew up in the projects, so every day in and out of 400 Marshall Drive, on my way to school, on my way back to school, all I seen was drug dealing, prostitution, people getting robbed. You know what I'm saying? Things that kids shouldn't see at that age. The train stopping every day, 4 or 5 times a day. Whatever grocery truck was bringing groceries to the 2 supermarkets we had down there, were getting robbed. And I grew up idolizing the older guys, the hustlers. And, just seeing them with the new cars, you know what I'm saying? As a kid, I looked at that and I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do when I get older. So, yeah, I had a pretty normal childhood up until, I started roaming the streets and seeing what was going on. And, I grew up in one of the biggest projects in Jersey, 4 blocks long. And yeah, at the age of 12, before the age of 12, I always knew that my older cousin, he was a heroin addict, And I remember my mother she would send me every summer to Puerto Rico because she was trying to get me up out of the hood. She knew that she felt something about me. And that's something that my oldest siblings didn't like. They felt like my mother loved me more than she loved them.
The favoritism, yeah.
And it was just that she knew I needed more attention. She knew I needed more attention because, the things I was doing, the people I was around. And she would send me to Puerto Rico every summer. And from the age of 12, that I really started, experimenting the streets. She sent me one summer to Puerto Rico, and my oldest cousin, Momia, car thief. That was his thing. He used to love stealing cars. And she sent me to Puerto Rico, and he happened to pick me up that weekend and took me to Bayamon, where he's from. And my cousin he was a wild boy, and they had robbed some people. And that weekend that I spent with him, they came looking for him. And they just happened to find him the day I was with him, and they shot at him. I was with him. I thank God I didn't die then, and that weekend was just it was something crazy for me, seeing him going from drug spot to drug spot, sniffing dope. And in Puerto Rico, they sell the dope in aluminum foil. And it always stood in my mind, like, what's that he's doing, whatever. And couple years later, well, I started experimenting with cigarettes, alcohol, and I wanted to graduate to something, you know what I'm saying, something bigger. And one Friday, we get out of school, we chilling, we looking for weed. We couldn't find no weed. It was me and two of my peoples, and we ran into some heroin. Nobody had weed in the projects, so we finally got our first bag of heroin. We split the bag 3 ways, and we got high. I didn't like it the first time. The first time I did it, I was 16 years old. And the second time I did it, I guess I started adapting to it. Like, I started feeling a little better. I wasn't throwing up no more. I wasn't feeling nauseous. Actually started liking it. And I caught my first charge for hustling, selling drugs. They ran down, and we used to hang out in the basement of there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was 7 buildings on Harrison that was 7 stories high. Then there was about 20 small buildings that had 3 stories high, and then they have the 4 projects where it's 10 stories. And we're in the basement one day bagging up. We used to go down there to bag up our coke, whatever, and the cops run down. And they raid the basement, whatever. I caught my first charge. And I go to court. They postponed it the first time. The second time I go to court, they sent me to a giant step program, which I would have to go every week, give a urine. And if they felt like I was addicted to something, they were going to send me to a program. So I gave them 3 dirty heroin urines. I ended up getting sent to a program. And my first time going to a program as a juvenile, I didn't really understand the NA and the AA concept. Like, I didn't feel like I was an addict. And hearing people's stories, man, what they've been through, and I'm like, I'm not an addict. Like, I haven't gone through that yet. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't realize at the time that these people were sharing their testimonies, their stories with me, so that their stories and testimonies won't become my story and testimony. But I didn't understand
Trying
that.
to save you from that.
Trying to save me for it. You know how, your mother tells you at a young age, don't touch the stove because you're going to get burnt, whatever. But,
don't stick the fork in the electric out.
Exactly. and you're curious, curiosity, man. So you go and you do it. So, I didn't understand, man. And I completed the program, came home. The first day I came home, I don't even think I went straight home. I went, to the people, because once I started getting high, I associated with people who would get it high. Like the friends that I had, the good friends, the ones that weren't out there doing, the things that weren't right. I didn't want to hang around them. I wanted to hang around everybody that was living that life.
That's even in the Bible. The Bible said that two people will not be together if they are not in an agreement. That's reality.
So yeah, I continue. I continue my drug run, and at the age of 17, I'm still getting high, but now I'm stealing cars. We're stealing cars. This was back when Hunts Point in the Bronx was Hunts Point. People used to go to the races on the weekends, and yeah, we would go out every night stealing cars, stealing systems, stealing music, and we it's the insanity sometimes, man, that you go through, man. And we would put a system in your car, and that same night go back out and take it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we did some things. We would take cars to Hunts Point, to the races, whatever you needed. If it was a motor, if it was rims, fenders, whatever, we took them to Hunts Point, stripped them down, brought them back to Jersey, and we had the parts sold. Yeah, and from there it was off to the races, man. My addiction just kept progressing. Getting. I mean, it went from it turned from a monkey into a gorilla. But at the time I'm sniffing dope, and I'm at this I'm at the projects one day, and I remember sniffing a bundle, and this old head tells me, you're wasting it. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm wasting it? He said, I put money that if you put a bag or two bags in the cooker and shoot it up, you're gonna feel the high, like if you did a bundle, if you sniffed a bundle. And finally, me rompí la vena, you know what I'm saying? I shot up for the first time, and it was like I seen heaven, you know? And yeah, that mission went on, and I start doing burglaries, breaking into people's houses while they're home sleeping. You know what I'm saying? I got chased up out of houses a couple of times, man. I'm telling you, I should have been dead a long time ago. And yeah, my addiction just kept progressing. I start selling coke. Now I'm mixing coke and dope. That's the ultimate high. Anybody that gets high on heroin will tell you that once you shoot up coke and dope, you never go back, man. And that's how it was for me, man. I started shooting coke and dope. Every time I went over to the city and cop 20, 30 grams, whatever, it was just to support my habit. And yeah, I start shooting up, and overdosed over 20 times.
Oof, that's a lot of overdose.
Yeah, overdosed over 20 times, man. And the first time I overdosed, we had just finished we did like two burglaries. We had money, jewelry, whatever. We went, we got dope, we got coke, and in Jersey City we had this abandoned house that we used to go and get high in, and that was the first time I overdosed. And I wake up in the emergency room. I went from having like 1,500 in my pocket, jewelry, to having nothing, because addicts, when you overdose in a crack house, once you overdose, they're gonna go through your pockets, and whatever you got in your pockets is over. It's theirs now. So I wake up in the emergency room, man, because my high is gone now. They hit me with Narcan. They took my high away. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that was my life. My life was just, it was like a merry-go-round. You know what I'm saying? In 92, I caught 3 burglaries back to back.
So you had a drug addiction and a criminal career going side by side.
Everything. Once I started, once I got introduced to heroin, like heroin
Became your
became my
life.
everything, bro.
For how many years were you in this living that type of life?
I say about 32.
32 years.
From the age of 16 all the way up until I want to say I maxed out in 2011. When I came home in 2011, I got on Suboxone because I just got tired of waking up sick every morning. And yeah, I got high for years, and it was in and out of the county. Hudson County became my second home. You know what I'm saying? Out of the 24 tiers that building had, I went through about 20 of them. Every time I went in through receptions, the CEO saw me and it was like, you're back home again. You know what I'm saying? But looking at me, smoked out, you see my picture, coming back in through them doors, and they're like, at least you made it back. You know what I'm saying? You didn't end up overdosing, somebody killing you out there. Like my mother used to always tell me. And
Let me ask you a question. Every time you went to jail, do you got the chance to rehabilitate while you was in jail? Do you rehabilitate? Do you went through rehab when you're in jail? Like, do you stop using drugs while you were in jail?
Yeah.
So you will break
I
the
was
habit and become clean. As long as you was in jail, you was clean.
I was clean. I was good.
And how many times you were in jail? I'm trying to make sense of all this.
My jacket, my rap sheet, I got about 8 felony convictions, over 30 municipal charges.
So easy to say you was in jail more than 20 times easily.
More, yeah,
Way more than. So
20
what I'm
times
trying to
was
get to
nothing.
is that in more, let's say 30 times, but just giving a close number for what you say. So in more than 30 times, you got cleaned up and sober. But this chain over your life was so strong that as soon as you would step out of jail, so there was no rehabilitation. It was just because you was obligated to get clean.
To stop, yeah.
And what I'm trying to go to this is like, it's crazy, right? Because when you don't have God in your heart, when you don't have Jesus in your life, when Jesus haven't set you free yet, you was able to put a stop into that addiction that you have for that moment. But as soon as you will walk right out, you will pick it up. Now, when Jesus came to your life, nobody need to lock you in, lock you up, push you in jail in order for you to be free, because the freedom that you have received is so deep that you don't need that you had before that. If they put me in jail, I'm clean. But as soon as I'm out, I don't have the willpower. So that's crazy. Like it's when you look at it, it's like, wow, it's crazy to have that type of life.
Yeah, and it was from having so much hatred in my heart.
I want to get to that. Yeah, where you think that came from? Where you think all that stuff in your life came from?
I want to say my father, because I felt like my youngest sister, she my mother enabled me. My mother, just so that I don't go out there and do something, that was gonna get me locked up or killed. She would give me money to go get high. You know what I'm saying? But my father, it was like with my little sister, and I seen this at an early age. Anytime she came home from school with something she seen one of her friends wear, it was sneakers, a book bag, earrings, whatever. That same day she got home and told them, they were at the store going to get it. And me and my brother didn't have it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wanted things too, but it wasn't as easy as it was for her. Like,
So you feel like you wasn't being taken care of the way your sister. So you feel
yeah,
like you said, you feel like the black sheep of the family.
black sheep, and I just felt like I expected a little more out of my father, and what the love that my father wasn't showing me, I went and looked for it in the streets, and the older folks, and the ones that were doing, the things that weren't right.
You wanted to feel accepted. You wanted to feel like somebody was showing you your value, and you feel like the streets were showing you value.
Yeah,
When in reality, the streets were destroying you.
they were destroying me.
Because all those years that you was in that addiction, the enemy was just holding you down.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you that like it's only through the glory of God I'm here.
Amen.
'Cause
Yes.
I like I said, I overdosed 20 times. I got high with people who were HIV positive.
You could have cut that easy.
Sharing needles, bro, man. Yo, with people who I knew was sick, bro. Man.
Were you
But I
homeless?
didn't care.
Were you homeless for a long time?
I don't want to say I was homeless, because my mother's doors were always open. You know?
But as a grown man in your own 2 feet, you didn't have a place.
No, I didn't.
lay
I
your
didn't
head.
have a place, where I had keys that I could say, you know what, I'm going home today, and I would have to bang on my mother's door because their room was all the way in the back in order for them to hear me.
How many times you found yourself wanting to get out of that life? I gotta ask you this question.
Every time I got locked up, man.
That was the moment.
It was like as soon as I went in, as soon as I hit holding, that I finally get the holding, that I get my cell, I would ask God, like,
And that's where I was gonna go. Did you feel God calling you through to that? Because that's a journey. What you went through was a journey, man. How many times you felt God calling you through that journey?
a whole bunch of times. Even in the streets while I was getting high.
Did you ever answer?
No.
Because you said you were angry with God.
Yeah, I was angry. I was upset.
I mean, you told me that out of camera, but you did tell me.
yeah, I couldn't understand. Like I couldn't understand why I couldn't get it right. You know what I'm saying? Like I would get locked up. I do time. Like, I did time 3 times. You know.
For you, that was normal. You know what I mean? Like a person like me that's been serving God for a long time. I'll tell you how it is. I had a dream one time that something happened. I was going to jail, and I woke up so scared. You know what I mean? Because I've been living, a better life with God now for 25 years. So I got scared just because I had a dream that they were gonna lock me in. In a dream, all I'm thinking is like, my family, how I'm gonna do this. For you, getting locked up was normal. Going to jail was a normal thing. It's probably as normal as sticking a needle in your veins.
It was like my second home, man. You know what I'm saying? I felt institutionalized. It didn't bother me. I was affiliated. Yo era nieta, you know what I'm saying? I was affiliated. So every time I went
You
to
were
the
welcome.
county,
It was like, it wasn't like you would go to jail and you had to worry because you was part of an organization. I get it.
I was, and after like my 3rd time that I learned the ropes in there, I learned how to cut hair, I learned how to do tattoos in jail.
You probably feel safer in there than outside.
So yeah, for a while, it was like, it didn't bother me, man. It didn't bother me. Like, it didn't bother me. Like, when I was out there ripping and running, I knew what the consequence. I knew what was gonna happen. I said, it's gonna come a point where I'm gonna get locked up. If I don't get locked up, I'm gonna end up dying out here. I'm gonna end up in a program again. Like, I knew what was gonna happen, but it was the thought of trying to do right and not being able to do right, and the thought of just, what, this is my life, this is where I'm at, and I'm gonna just keep running with it. You know what I'm saying?
So were you afraid of the change, of trying to change?
Of course, I've always been afraid of change. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the unknown. The unknown. Like, I could never see myself sober. I got high a lot of times. It was because of the feelings that I had inside. I was trying to
You
numb
was
the
trying to
pain,
drown those feelings.
numb the pain, man. You
Let
know
me
what I'm
ask you a
saying?
question. I know you already told me that you overdosed like 20 times and were in jail like 30 times and you were in drug addict for like over 30 years. And those are big consequences. That's big stuff. I'm pretty sure that people are watching those right now, they're like, wow, you know what I mean, in their wildest dreams. Would there at all any consequence that you can point out and you said, I think this is the biggest consequence out of that whole life? Maybe related with your kids because you got kids, or maybe related with your marriage or related with relationship. Is there any consequence that you feel like it was the one that hit you the hardest? Because you already said that being in jail, that was a walk in the park for you. Being homeless, that was a walk in the park. That was your life. But beside that, was there anything that you can be like, this is the thing that hurt me the most about being in that life?
My oldest daughter.
Tell us about it.
Um,
I mean, if you want.
yeah. My oldest daughter. Um, I met her mother while I was in prison. I had a habit down there. My people's sister was bringing him 2-3 grams of dope every 2 weeks, whatever. Caught a habit down there, whatever. We stopped playing with the phones one day, and my people's, he's like, "What are you doing?" And we just get on the payphone and just randomly dial numbers and talk to people, especially in Puerto Rico. And
From jail.
yeah, from jail. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm waiting for somebody to pick up the phone and give me some conversation." You know what I'm saying? You get tired of talking to the same people all the time. So he's like, I'm gonna hook you up with somebody, and he hooked me up with my first daughter's mom's. And like a week before that, her mother, her mother was killed by her boyfriend. He stabbed her over 15 times on her birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, and I start talking to her, and I wasn't expecting anything out of it, knowing what she just went through, whatever, whatever. But I guess the person she was dealing with wasn't really showing her that love and affection that she was looking for at the time. And she swung that door open for me. She told me to keep calling her, and one thing led to another. I got paroled to her house, and at the time she was living in Passaic, New Jersey, Passaic Patterson. And I came home. She got pregnant, and like 3 months later, I caught a parole violation. I started getting high again. I started getting high again. I'm on the run now, and I ended up getting locked up. And she came a couple times to see me, mainly to bring my mother because my mother wanted to come see me. And yeah, 2 days 2 days before she gave birth, I maxed out. I did my time. I was in a halfway house, and I had spoke to my counselor in the halfway house. They told me that uh, the day she goes into labor, that they were gonna allow me to go to the hospital, be there with her while she gives birth, so I could sign the birth certificate, everything. That day came, and they never let me go. So 2 days later, I maxed out. She's mad because I couldn't be there. So all this now just added to the pot. So that night that I maxed out, the first thing I did was I went and I got high, you know, and I went, seen her the following day, uh, but still with that desire of getting high, like I still wanted to get high.
If it seems like, and I've seen this before, I have met so many people that have been in drug addiction. When you're in that addiction, you can be, let's say you have, like that night you had a responsibility to go see your baby mama giving birth or whatever, being there. But anything that changes the program a little bit becomes a good excuse to go get high. Because I met a lot of guys, and what you just said right there, you've taken me back to some conversations I had with people that it's like, yeah, anything, you know what I mean? Like a regular person would be like, no, I have to go do this. In the drug addict mentality, anything, like things have to be more than perfect for them to stick to the responsibility they have, because anything, the car moved too fast to the left lane. Oh, we're not going there. We gotta go get high. That's crazy.
And what's funny is that for me, I didn't need an excuse. It's sunny today. I'm going to get high. It's raining today.
I'm alive. I'm gonna get high.
You know,
Pretty much.
And yeah, man, like I told you, everything.
So you mentioned your daughter, that was the biggest thing, the biggest consequence. So what happened with her? Do you develop a relationship with your daughter, or
2004, I was in the county, and I knew I was coming out. I had went to court. I copped out to a drug program. I went to Cura in North. And I had plans. You know, I had plans already. I made plans. I said, you know what? I'm coming home this time, but I want to do things right. Like I don't, you know. And I come home. I get to Cura. After I get out off a blackout, they allow me to make a phone call. I got her number. I called her, and finally got to spoke to her. I wanted to see my daughter, and she was like, you know what? Do me a favor. Don't call us. Leave us alone. We're good, and this and that. And that right there just added flames to the fire that I already had inside. You know what I'm saying? Now, where the drug program is located, right at that corner, is nothing but it's drug infested, man. You know.
So they put a drug program right in a drug infested
right in the middle of.
That doesn't sound that smart. If it is a rehabilitation program, you would think you want it. A lot of times when you hear like they do in Puerto Rico, a lot of the rehabilitation programs are in the mountains. Yeah. Like if you escape from there, you gotta go through Tarzan and King Kong in order to get to the drug spot.
I even went to Hogar Crea too. I was in
Puerto Rico.
Crea. No, in
Jersey.
Jersey.
They got it in New Jersey.
They got a couple.
I didn't know they had one in New Jersey.
Yeah, they got a couple here, man. You know, but I guess they did that to see how if you were really serious about staying clean. You know what I'm saying? If you want to stay clean, you're gonna stay clean. If you want to get high, is everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
it was a test.
At the same
I guess
time,
to me, I mean,
no. At the same time, right? If you think about it, it's like telling a person that has eating disorder that the place where they're gonna rehab is where they fry all the burgers. You know what I mean? Like you would think, right? Like you would think. So your daughter's situation, kind of like trigger you. You came out of jail with a mentality, and that went right out the window.
Yeah.
So
I had plans, but
that marked your life for a long time.
Because you know, I really did want to change. You know, I mean, I had a nice little run out there. Every time I said, you know what, I'm gonna try to do things different this time. I'm gonna do it this way, and it never happened that way. You know what I'm saying? I guess I had reservations already in my mind, you know, to get high and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
So before we get to the part that we're gonna flip your testimony, we're pretty close to that. Before you came to God, when you started to feel the real, because the way I look at it is every time you in a situation, you know, and I say you, I mean us as people, we're in a situation that we know is not the best. Before you hit the change, the first thing that needs to start happening is you start getting tired of being in that situation. You start getting tired of being in that situation. When the time comes to you that you start being tired of that whole situation before you make God, and then we're gonna cross it when you make God.
When I start realizing that I'm I'm buying a brick of dope, 50 bags. And 50 bags doesn't last me 2 days, bro. This is how bad my addiction got.
That's a lot of heroin.
And I'm like, this is like, this I'm really gonna end up killing myself, you know what I'm saying? Like 50 bags in 2 days, you know what I'm saying? And there was nights when I can't even sleep thinking if I went and bought a brick of dope and I did 25 bags and tried to go to sleep, I couldn't sleep knowing that I still had more heroin. So I wake up the next day with probably 10 bags, and that ain't even gonna last me till 12 o'clock the next day. You know what I'm saying? That's how bad my drug addiction was. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care, bro. I ran the Lower East Side. If you're familiar with New York, the Lower East Side when the Lower East Side was the Lower East Side, when 7 and C had some of the best dope. Chinatown. If they told me that they had China White on 137 and it was killing people, that's where I wanted to go. Because I said that's gotta be strong up there. And yeah, I got high with dirty water, bro, man. I shot dope with dirty water. I didn't care.
A lot of addicts do that.
I
So let's start turning this around. So at the moment that you start using so much that it's not satisfying you, you just this drug, you start realizing that there have to be a better life. Let's turn this around and talk about how you came to Jesus. What happened in your life, and how was that moment when you finally decided to give God a chance? And mind you, you told me that you was upset at God for a long time. So let's bring it from there.
Yeah, I just I had hatred towards them. I didn't know why my life kept going the way it was going. I'm like, if there's a God, why, you know what I'm saying? Like, why am I suffering so much? Because I was suffering. And yeah, I maxed out. This was right before I met my wife. I maxed out in February 2nd, 2011. And I said, this is when Suboxone, not right when Suboxone had came out. Suboxone came out a couple years before that.
So what's the boxing? You can mention that.
Suboxone is it's an opiate blocker.
Oh yeah, like nar.
No, not Narcan. Okay, you got methadone and you got Suboxone.
Okay. Now I understand the concept now. It's something for you to try to break free from the addiction.
Yeah, but
It just take a place, but it still has some
you're
stuff.
substitute, and now you're addicted to a pill. The only difference is that
It's legal.
You get it prescribed. And I could have went either way, methadone or Suboxone. But the difference with methadone is that you can take 150 milligrams of methadone and still go get high. With Suboxone is an opiate blocker, has naloxone in it. So you try to get high, it has a block. You can't get high. All you feel is the Suboxone effect. So I did that for a couple years. For about 10 years. No, a little more than 10 years.
So you was clean for 10 years. Instead of using heroin, you was using.
I was using Suboxone, but I would dip and dab. On those days when I wanted to get high, I wouldn't take my Suboxone in the morning, and I would wait till the evening that night, whatever, and I would go to North, get me some dope, whatever, and get high. But it was always with Suboxone though. I try not to catch a heroin habit, and I slipped a couple times. That I start dipping and dabbing and going a little too hard, going to the extreme and catching a habit, whatever, but still having Suboxone, have something to fall back on. But okay, in 2022, I I finally get to talk to my pastors that I have today, and it's crazy how here's a man who's trying to who doesn't know me from a can of paint is willing to help me, but I still don't want to help myself. You know, because I'm not getting high. I'm hooked to Suboxone, but I'm smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? And that he'll tell you, you know, I cursed him out. You know what I'm saying? Here's a man that's trying to help me, and you know, I cursed him out. He was trying to get me into a drug program, whatever. So I was working for AAA. I was in North Carolina. I wasn't with Sully with my wife anymore. Um, and I'm dealing with a female who's not a believer, but like 2022, right before I got locked up, like I got a feeling that I should start doing something about Suboxone. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't want to die in that life. I didn't want to be a drug addict. I didn't want to die as a drug addict. And I'm dealing with a female that she's a non-believer, whatever. So them last 2 weeks that I was in the streets, I start going to church. Pero que I'm going to church, but now I'm coming home to somebody who doesn't believe in God, who's probably doing black magic, worshiping the devil, which I'm pretty sure that's what she was doing. And I end up breaking up with her. I didn't want to be with her no more because, you know, I just my I don't know, I felt something inside. I don't want to say my spirit, but I didn't feel I felt funny inside. I was like, you know what? I told her, listen, I'm gonna start going to church. I'm gonna stop smoking weed. And she's like, no, you can't do that. You can't stop smoking weed. Like, what's wrong with you? That's when I knew something wasn't right.
She didn't want you to get better.
She didn't want me to get better. So I'm working for AAA. So I decided to start my boss at the time. And I'm just so grateful, man, that God's been so good to me, man. Cause like everywhere I go, somebody sees something bigger than what I see.
Yes.
You know, and I was blessed at the time with a man that used to let me my transmission went on my car, and he would let me take the truck or the van home every night. Now, that past week and a half, I started sleeping in my AAA truck. I got all my stuff up out of her house, and I would sleep at the Walmart parking lot, bro, man, because I was I was paranoid. Like I was paranoid that people were out to get me and everything. This is how the enemy had me thinking. You know, people out to get me, whatever. So I was sleeping in the Walmart parking lot because I knew it was 24-hour surveillance. You know what I'm saying?
People coming in and out.
People coming in and out. And yeah, I did that for a week and a half. But still listening to worship music. You know what I'm saying? I would listen to worship music.
So God was
whatever.
working with your life,
God was
breaking those shackles in your life.
yeah, God was doing something, you know. He was working, you know, and like I was telling Pastor this on Wednesday. I'm listening to worship music. I'm listening to worship music and I'm feeling good about it. But okay, you know, the enemy's still there, man. And one day I'm listening to worship music. And you know who comes through the radio? TD Jakes comes through the radio. Right? I watched TD Jakes, I heard his sermons, whatever. And as I'm listening to my worship music on YouTube, he comes over the speakers and he's telling me that I'm never gonna be nothing. And this is this and I go to my grave believing this, telling me that I'm not gonna be nothing, to stop trying to look for God, that it's not gonna happen, that everything that I'm doing is all a lie. Don't believe it, whatever. And before I get to when I got locked up, I'm talking to Pastor Wednesday. Wednesday, we had no work because it was raining. And I wake up, I fall asleep in the morning. I wake up, I was listening to Jerry Flower, and I wake up to the P. Diddy story about how all these people are a part of what was going on. T.D. Jakes, Ricky Smiley, a whole bunch of people. I don't want to be putting people out there, and I really believe, man, that the enemy was using him at that time. Me, I was trying to, I was trying to change. I wanted something different. And it was like they say, the enemy uses people. The enemy could be deceiving, man, and so I end up going back to get the rest of the little bit of stuff I had in her house. This was a Saturday. I remember the North Carolina Fair was about to happen. I get my stuff. I drive all the way. My car, now my transmission was bad. It wouldn't take third gear, it wouldn't take fourth gear. I make it all the way to the Walmart in Durham. My transmission goes on me. So I start walking around Durham, right? And I'm like, how am I gonna get back to Raleigh? So I get down, I get like maybe 4 or 5 blocks away from the Walmart, and I see somebody had just came out and started a pickup truck. I guess they were warming it up. They were getting ready to go to work or whatever. I jump in the pickup truck and I take off. Now, I'm smoking weed that I had just bought the night before. This is the first time I'm gonna smoke this weed after I had bought it, and the weed was laced with fentanyl. So I smoke. I end up back at the Walmart. Now I'm bugging. I'm tripping. I feel like I was demon possessed. Now I'm in front of Walmart, and there's 2 cop cars in front of me, 1 cop car behind me. And I sat in the truck for about 40, 45 minutes, just waiting for them to come out and grab me. I knew I was in the stolen truck. And I had the truck in drive. I just had my foot on the brake. So I'm sitting there. I sat there for a minute. And as soon as they bust the driver and passenger's door open, that they jumped in to grab me, my foot slipped. I hit the gas, and I took the 2 cop cars, the one that was coming. I caught 3 assaults with a deadly weapon on government officials. I had $150,000 bail. I didn't know how I was gonna get out. And I hit the county after a week of hallucinating and going through that phase I was going through. I got a Bible. I got my hands on a Bible. The first one that I got was Enoch, the book of Enoch. And then I got my hands on the Bible. I started reading the Bible. And like 2 weeks later, man, I just felt like God talking to me, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was asking him, I said, God, like, I'm tired. Like, and sometimes we don't know what God is doing.
So you got to that point of being tired, finally.
I got tired, and I'm like I told you, I'm listening to worship music. I'm asking God to, like, what's going on? Like, I'm tired of living like this. I don't want to live like this no more. So I felt like what I went through, he allowed me to hit that wall, boom, to wake me up. So yeah, I I started reading my Bible, praying, listening to sermons on the radio, and God is so good, man, that they sent a mental health court team to come see me because they thought I was going crazy. They thought I was bugging, and they came to see me, explain my charges to me, and what they were willing to do. So I did 3.5 months in the county with $150,000 bill. I said they could give me a $5 bill, and I'm not making bail. Ain't nobody coming to get me. And I got out 3.5 months later, man. I did a 6 month outpatient drug program. I had to stay the first month in their facility. I got a job. I got a room after that month. I completed the program, did the 6 months, no dirty urines. And yeah, that's when I finally got back to talk to the pastor. I received Christ over the phone.
Yes.
This was 2023. And I've been with him ever since, man. And God has been doing big things in my life, man. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Glory to God. How much different you feel now that we're about to wrap this up, but how much different you feel now from 30 some years of drug addiction to this last 2 years that you've been walking with God?
Well, I say that if I knew back then what I knew now, because don't get me wrong, at the age of 30, 35, people would ask me, if you had the chance to do it all over again, would you do it? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd like, because you think that, you've been doing wrong for all your life. That's all you know, man. You know what I'm saying? And to do right is like, it's like you could take me out the hood, but you can't take the hood out of me. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And yeah, bro. But I tell you, man, I wish I could have wrote down my story and because I've been through a lot, bro, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people couldn't walk in my shoes. I did things that, chacho, que no hice, bro, man, that God took me out of, man. You know what I'm saying? Just overdosing, knowing that I felt almost like Lazarus when Jesus went and took him out of the grave. That's how I feel now. God
Yes.
went and took
I
me
like
up
that.
out of the grave, man.
Gloria a Dios, brother. Gloria a Dios, gloria a Dios. Normally, we always ask people, and I always ask people, this is your camera right here. Addiction is something that a lot of people go through. As we're speaking right now, there's a lot of people in addiction right now. And sadly, not everybody gets to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people die in their addiction. That's the reality. It's the truth. But by God's grace and mercy, you made it out. You made it out.
Yes, I
You're not
did.
only sober, you're walking with God.
Yes, I did.
What would you tell those people that may be watching right now or may know somebody that is going through addiction? Because you just said something a second ago that you're like, man, if I would have known this a long time ago, I would have probably make that decision earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
What
Oh
would you
yeah.
tell those people that may be watching that probably think that like that you felt can't get out of this?
For those that are going through drug addiction or know somebody that's going through drug addiction, don't be judgmental. Sometimes this comes from childhood scars, that seeds we planted years back that a lot of us didn't deal with and turned into, drug addiction, whatever it is that they turned into, man. Just don't be judgmental about it, because I get that a lot. People look at me and they see my tattoos and my teardrops, and people tend to judge you before even sitting down with you and getting to know you. You know, my teardrops represent I lost my grandmother and my cousin in 96 while I was doing time. Sufrimiento, you know. But yeah, man, just you know, you can't be judgmental, man, and start assuming, because that's what we do. We assume, man, but we really don't know their story, man, you know. So if you got somebody that's going through drug addiction, man, you gotta show them love, man. You know, show them, you know, that you care, man, and that there's a better way. You know, because a lot of us we go through things, man, and some of us make it, some of us don't, man. You know, and yeah, if you could just love on that person, man, and show them that there's a way out, man. There is, man. Just don't you know, start looking at somebody up because they're getting high as bad people, man. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect, man. You know what I'm saying? There was only one perfect one, and he's in heaven. We all commit mistakes. We all do things that are not right, man. But you know, just yeah, love on that person, man, and show them that there's a way out, man. Don't give up on them. If there's a will, there's a way.
Amén, ahí lo tienen mi gente, el testimonio de Julio Rivera. De verdad te damos gracias, brother. Gracias mil por compartir con nosotros. De verdad que sí, que es una bendición escuchar tu testimonio. Y sí, es bien impactante todo lo que tú viviste, pero a mí siempre lo más que me impacta es una vez Dios llega a esa vida. Once God touches that life, that's what impacts me the most. The things that He started doing, you know what I mean? And when I hear the part B of the story, the next chapter of the story is when I say, wow, you know, because I understand, you know, that as humans, we are people of habit, you know what I mean? And when you're inside of a habit, it's hard to break a habit, leave alone an addiction, you know what I mean? And for you to be here today saying, hey, it's been 2 years walking with God.
Yeah.
And that's all I needed. Hey.
And not even that. Sometimes it be your own family. You know, they suffer because they see you killing yourself and they can't do nothing about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But sometimes your own family, you know, stop believing.
Because they react from the point of view of the pain that you caused them. That's what it is. But man, we thank you for being here. We praise God for your life. Thank you, Julio, de verdad, de corazón. Ahí lo tiene mi gente. Compártalo con alguien, suscríbase, déle la campanita de notificaciones, deje su like, deje su comentario. Así que eso es todo por hoy. Nos vemos en la próxima. Para adelante y para el cielo y bendiciones sobreabundantemente.